Welcome to another video. This one's a little bit longer. In essence, I haven't had chance to record lots and lots of things, so while Dad and I are busy cleaning the chassis, as you can see there, I'll just introduce this video, which is basically a compilation of videos and pictures taken over the last few days of us working on the Land Rover, and also updates kind of at the end of each day, just to let you know where we are and how things have gone and what's to come. So hope you enjoy. I'm going to hand over to me now, ready for the next video. Thank you. So I realised we jumped on a little bit. I did manage to film a couple of little videos of us doing stuff, including how we got the rear axle off, which was use the hydraulic lift to lift the chassis up with some ratchet straps around it, which allowed us to drop the rear axle off as per the following video. Thank you.
Okay. Let's just get it on an interlock. Hang on.
That little chuckle from my dad there is the acknowledgement of how useful that two-poster lift is. We've had it a few years now. It's probably one of the best things I've ever bought for the workshop. It just makes life so much easier when it comes to things like this, lifting stuff and getting access to things. But there's a look of realisation on our faces here where we realise that where we've put the ratchet straps is actually meaning that we can't drop the axle off really easily, because we've put them around the radius arms, which are actually now blocked by the ratchet straps in effect, or by the straps I should say. So with hatching a plan what we're going to do here, and we thought, well, actually what we'll do is just drop the chassis back down now onto a pair of axle stands and support it with the axle stands, which will then mean we can eventually drop the axle off. So one of those things that seemed like a really good idea, and it was a great idea, apart from we didn't put the straps in the right place. But never mind, get a couple of axle stands, get them underneath, and jobs are good.
The axle stands are supporting it, that's good enough, isn't it? Just in front of the radius arm now, side one. Yeah. Yeah. Should be alright. It's going to go up a little bit. Yeah. There, going down.
It's all about safety first here, obviously. Lowering the lift with my hand underneath it, kind of. So yeah, don't do that. If you're ever doing this, then don't do what I'm doing there. Be careful. Good afternoon. Quick update on the Land Rover progress. So we are now at the point where we're happy with the chassis in terms of what it needs. So we've made a decision to replace the rear crossmember. Remember in the previous video I discussed how it clearly had some bodging either in the army or more likely after the army, with these horrible ends of the crossmember welded on, well actually bolted on. There are some welds because it's a bit lumpy, sort of down in this section here, and the same about here. It's quite lumpy, which is pretty much ties in with where these horrible bits of girder are that could be off a series Land Rover, but anyway, they're not the right ones. So I found a company online called DDS Metals, who are based in Coventry, and rang them yesterday morning and asked them if they could produce one, because they don't carry them in stock. It's a military specific rear crossmember, so it's got the cutout there for the trailer socket and a couple of other little bits and bobs, I think. And so yeah, no problem, we'll make one, and it's already on its way. I've had an email from them this afternoon to say it's already on its way. So I'll post a link to them in the comments section, in the description section of the video, because they've been really helpful. Hopefully it'll arrive tomorrow, so hopefully I'll have a chance of getting it on, getting it fitted at some point in the next couple of days. So in terms of the rest of the chassis now, as you can see, I've had a good go with some really good purple discs, which I got off Amazon. Yeah, they look like that. Bit fibrous, really good though. I'll put a link to those in the description as well. I think they cost me 20 quid for 10, and they do a really good job of removing loose rust and sort of starting to prep the chassis for paint. So yeah, now it's all apart, the rear axle off, as you can see. we've found that there's only one other little tender bit that needs some addressing, which is on this offside spring mount or spring carrier, just inside there. I think this is a double skin section of chassis, and there's just a little tiny bit of corrosion there, which we're going to cut out and deal with. Those of you that know Land Rovers will know that there should be a bump stop mount here, which we've actually ground off because the bump stop mounts are really known for rusting. So we've gone on both sides. I've taken those off, and they will be replaced with new after that's been patched, obviously, or repaired. And then the chassis will be good to go. Rear cross member on, and then it can be painted and sorted. So yeah, I'm pretty happy really with where we are. A couple of days work, getting the axle off was good. It's meant that I've been able to take everything off and check everything. The axle itself is here. I've taken the back plates, drums, back plates, wheel bearings, hubs, etc. off because a friend of mine who works for a company has said that he will powder coat some bits for me. So I've made a pile of parts and have a go at powder coating. So we've got back plates, rear training arms, the rear diff cover, the A-frame and brackets. That long piece is that's the part of the military lockers. It's a specific military thing. There's the fuel tank plate and there's the rear springs as well. We're going to have a go at seeing if we can powder coat the rear springs effectively so that the powder coat remains half decent. Fingers crossed we can. So the plan is, yeah, as discussed previously, to sort the rear of the chassis and then put it all back together and sort the front of the chassis out. Done a few other little bits and bobs as well. So we've got that rear axle apart. That's ready for, well, not ready, but close to being ready for painting. And starting to amass Land Rover parts everywhere. There's the rear hubs or the rear bearing carriers, other bits and bobs. And in the cupboard here, something that I've had vapor blasted is a 200 TDI flywheel housing. That's going to go on new because the Defender engine has more bolts that hold it onto the hold the flywheel housing onto the engine to prevent oil leaks. This is a Discovery engine and some of the bolts are missing, so bought a new flywheel housing to machine and hopefully solve the dreaded oil leaks which it's currently got, as I've spoken about. So yeah, update as of Wednesday, not far off getting it stuff back onto it now rather than keep taking things off. It's always a bit depressing taking things off and ending up with a vehicle on axle stands in your workshop that's neither use nor ornament really. It's definitely not an ornament and there's definitely nothing useful about it other than hanging things off it currently and using it to create lots of dust and rust. I'm going to try and now just put a couple of little videos on of the work that we've done over the last couple of days that I recorded, just small ones featuring me and my dad. My dad's heavily involved in this project, helping me with his technical knowledge and expertise with bits and pieces. So yeah, those videos will follow. I'll try and put a little bit of a voiceover on them if I can figure out how to do it. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed the update. Thank you very much. Here's a few pictures of the powder coating process, ready to be bathed in the ultrasonic bath. All the rust cleaned off, hung up to dry, and then eventually into the powder coating booth to be powder coated black. Massive thanks to my friend for doing that for me. Much appreciated, and over to the next video. Right then, new rear cross member has arrived and it looks really, really good. There's not many differences between this and the non-military version. It looks a little bit like a TD5 one, but the trailer socket is enclosed, where on the TD5 it's open all the way through the cross member, so there's just a little bit of detail difference there. This has got 200mm extensions on, so short pieces that are basically going to be welded onto the chassis just behind the rear tub mountings there. If you compare it, you can see the difference in profile between that one, how it angles up, and that one's square. It's quite a bit of difference to the one that's currently on, so it's going to look much, much nicer once it's fitted and welded on, which will hopefully be sometime in the next couple of days, all being well. One thing that we have had to do is get rid of the wiring loom. On the Defender, the wiring runs all the way through the chassis. It's fed through right the way from the front, just underneath the bulkhead, along and through the chassis. So if you get rid of the wire, and if I were to pull that out without taking some sort of precaution, then there's no way we'd be able to feed it back through. So what we've done is we've fed a small bit of wire through, and if this is basically one single length that runs all the way through, goes all the way through to the front of the vehicle there, and if Dad gives it a little bit of a waggle at his end, see it moving there through that hole. So this is the rear wiring loom, which we've pulled all the way through. It'll give me a good opportunity to check it out, make sure it's all okay, rewrap it, and then when it comes to finally being able to put it back through, we'll just pull on that wire. It'll pull all the way through, back through the chassis, back to where it should be. All being well, we've got these mountings for the bump stops. These are going to be welded on. It's much nicer than the ones that came off. It gives you an idea of what they're going to look like. So there should be a fairly straightforward weld. We've just got a little bit of hole in the chassis there to address, as I spoke about in a previous video. Yeah, so that's where we are so far. I'll update shortly. So because we're old school, we hacksawed the rear cross member off. Here's me doing one side, Dad did the other side. It took a while, but eventually we managed to get it off and it was on the floor. There you go. A couple of pictures to follow. I had to do some fettling of the chassis legs with a grinder just to get them the right size basically for the cross member to slip on. Then we used a couple of jacks to make sure it was perfectly aligned, and then did some welding and got it stuck on nicely. Quick update video before I get started for the day. We've spent the last 3 days or so prepping the chassis ready for paint up to the about halfway down, actually, just behind the transfer box, as you can see there, where we've prepped up to. It's looking pretty good now. The rear cross member is on and looking really nice and straight, much better than the old one, as discussed. Got the bump stop mounts are now welded on, and that little bit of tenderness on the chassis has been repaired. Bump stop mounts on the other side, they're both on. It's as clean and as good as I can realistically get the chassis with the equipment that we've got. Could have bought some more tools to help, but I've gone with the logic that it's lasted nearly 40 years. Admittedly, I don't think it's had much salt water exposure. I think we've been really lucky in that respect. Certainly the back half of the chassis, the little bits that have needed doing have been minor, the rear cross member aside. So I've gone with the logic that if it hasn't rusted in 37 years, then it's probably not going to rust much more, as long as it's protected and looked after. So I've not gone to, into minute detail and getting it back to bare metal, but it'll look good once it's painted. A couple of coats of primer, a couple of coats of top coat, just going with standard chassis black. It should look really good, and it won't be difficult to maintain. Then we're going to give it plenty of internal protection inside, spray lots of stuff in there to help keep the chassis corrosion free. So that's pretty much where we are with that currently. Lots of parts still off for powder coating. The fuel tank and rear axle are there off, the diffs upside down draining off nicely. Plenty of parts off being powder coated. I'm going to clean and paint the axle obviously, and the fuel tank as well, as previously discussed. And the plan is to get it back on its wheels as soon as possible, really, once the painting's done and I've got the parts back from the powder coater. Get it back together with new bits as needed, new shocks and bolts and A-frame ball joint, various other little bits and bobs, so I can get it rolling and driving again as quickly as possible, because I want to get this turned round and get it back in the workshop the other way round, so we can focus on the front of the chassis. If you recall, the small amount of corrosion on that front outrigger on the driver's side, offside, that needs to be dealt with, where it's been badly plated in the past. And there's a little bit more I've noticed on the outrigger there, on the rear side of the outrigger, that needs to be dealt with. A little bit crusty. It's sortable, obviously, just needs some attention. And then another thing that we've picked up on is the front cross member underneath the radiator. We've started to remove it, but it's had a plate put over it, I think, to deal with probably some corrosion or possibly a dent. And it looks like it's just been glued on with filler, or maybe a bit more of the old silicone and a prayer technique for that front cross member underneath the rad, but I'm not going to worry about that until we've got it turned around and got the front of the vehicle facing into the workshop, because it's a little bit tight against the front door. I don't really want to do anything at the front currently. So yeah, there we go. I'm now gonna crack on, get the chassis degreased, get as much of the dust off as I can, because it is really dusty in here now. Cleaning that rust and crusty stuff off has made a lot of dust, so I'll do my best to get that cleaned up and do some painting, and hopefully update a little bit later on today with the chassis looking a lot better. Thank you. We have some paint. It's taken me about 5 hours brush painting it, but it's got some paint on it. Pretty much where I want it to be. Got some paint on the fuel tank as well. It looks much better. It should be dry and ready to recoat tomorrow, all being well. I think one more coat of primer, and then some top coat can go on. But it's looking a lot better. I feel a little bit better about the whole project now. I've actually got some progress rather than constantly taking things off. Well, if you thought that was like watching paint dry, here's one more video for you to enjoy. Just to say thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please recommend this channel to anybody you think might be interested in watching an old Land Rover get restored by me and my dad in our workshop. I'm still getting my head around video editing and obviously trying to do the work on the Landy at the same time. So I appreciate your patience. And again, thank you very much for watching.